Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and we gotta talk about it. We got to talk about it. The Burgundy and Gold will have the best defense in the NFL this upcoming season, and I'm giving y'all plenty of reasons why. First of all, I'm gonna tell y'all what a lot of professionals are saying, not even just what I'm saying. After that, I'm gonna give y'all all of our final 2020 rankings and a lot of various random statistics that you probably didn't even think about. And then of course we're gonna break down notable players that were already on the team last year and notable additions that we gained going forward. And I'm stating my case for why the Burgundy and Gold will have the best defense in the NFL. Just like how I said we're gonna have the most explosive offense in the NFL a couple of weeks ago, today we will have the best defense in the NFL, and I'm confident. We're going to talk about it. And before we get into this video, man, please make sure you hit that subscription button, hit the bell next to the subscription, man. Endless content coming out for everything Burgundy and Gold. Anything major that happens in the NFL, I'm your guy. Film sessions, rankings, advanced statistics, all of that. So definitely hit that subscription button before we get into this video, man. Let's get it. So first of all, this all started when Jared Dubin from CBS Sports, he ranked his top 5 defenses for 2021. Of course, we were number 1. He gave the Bucs number 2, the Browns number 3, the Ravens number 4, and the Steelers number 5. It's kind of crazy that the Rams are outside of the top 5, but hey, be like that, you know what I'm saying? Then you also have Sportsnot. They ranked us the second best defense, Tampa Bay number 1, so you just flip number 1 and 2 from that last list for them. Bleacher Report has us number 3 with the Rams number 2 and the Buccaneers number 1. Sportskeeda has us number 2 and the Rams number 1. And it's pretty much a common theme. I mean, you're seeing the same guys cycle within the top 5. The Rams, us, the Steelers, Buccaneers, sometimes the Saints, sometimes the 49ers, of course the Buccaneers as well. The Browns are a rising defense. So I just wanted to show y'all what some professionals think, that this is not just me as a Burgundy and Gold fan, as an objective Burgundy and Gold fan, but this is what a lot of people in the media think. And again, the catalyst for this entire video was a CBS Sports analyst who's completely objective, not a Burgundy and Gold fan at all, and he stated that we'll have the best defense in the NFL going into next season. And now let's look at some crazy ranks from 2020, some crazy statistics. The Burgundy and Gold hate is not ready for this one. In 2020, we're going to talk about all of these statistics are coming from 2020. The Burgundy and Gold was first in passing first downs allowed with 161, second in total yards allowed with 4,511. The Rams were first. Second in passing yards allowed with 3,068. The Rams were first. Second and third quarter points allowed with only 30 the entire season. The Chiefs were first with 28. Tied for second and fourth quarter points allowed with 61. Rams were first with 60. And just to digress a little, we got to be better in the second quarter, bro. We allowed the 5th most points in the NFL in the second quarter last season with 152. That has to be a point of emphasis going into this next season. I know we don't have any analytics guys, but I'm pretty sure they have to know. If I know that, they have to know that. They get paid millions of dollars to do this. I'm barely getting paid at all. So they have to know that. But back to the greatness. We were also tied for second in passing touchdowns allowed with 21. Rams were first. Third in pass completions allowed with 330. Steelers were first. Third in total first downs allowed, 289. Rams were first. Third in expected points contributed by defense. Rams were first. Fourth in points allowed, 329. Rams were first. Fourth in red zone percentage with 53.5%. Broncos were first. Fifth in percentage of drives ending in offensive scores, 31.44. Rams were first. Tied fifth in interceptions with 16. Steelers, Saints, Dolphins, and Patriots were all tied for first. Tied for fifth in passing yards allowed per completion, 10.3. Rams were first. Sixth in third down percentage, 37.5. Dolphins were first. Sixth in sacks, 47. Steelers were first with 56. And tied for 7th in takeaways with 23. And the Dolphins were first. But most importantly, with DVOA, which takes into account like starting field position. It's situational. It completely isolates how great a defense actually is and doesn't just look at the surface stats. We were third in defensive DVOA. It was the Steelers first, Saints second, and us third. And what makes me so excited and so confident in this defense going forward is that, you know, starters wise, the Bucs are pretty much the same. The Steelers are pretty much the same. The Ravens are pretty much the same. The Rams lost their top safety in John Johnson to the Browns. And pretty much out of all of these top defenses, us and the Browns are the only two that have had obvious major upgrades from last season. That's why I'm so optimistic going forward into this next season. Because you can argue statistically, maybe the Rams, the Steelers, the Saints, the Buccaneers were better than us last year. In certain ways, not overall, but in certain ways. But out of that entire group of names, we've had the most improvement going into this upcoming season. And then if we're just talking about improvements and major upgrades going from 2020 to 2021, it's between us and the Browns. But the difference between us and the Browns is that we were a top 3 defense last year. The Browns weren't. So we're like the perfect blend of we walked the walk last year, and we also made major moves to improve our defense going into this next season. I mean, we even spent our first round pick on it. And we're going to talk about a lot of these major upgrades that we've had a little later. First, I want to talk about the guys who were already here that were there in 2020 and should only get better moving forward. Of course, starting with Chase Young and some of his crazy stats and grades. Amongst all rookies, Chase Young was tied for first in most tackles for loss or no gain with 11. It was him, Cameron Curl, our own, we'll talk about him a little later, and Patrick Queen. Also, according to Pro Football Focus, Chase Young was the highest graded red zone defender last season with the 93.3 grade in the red zone. So he was, according to Pro Football Focus, the best red zone defensive player in the NFL. He's only going to get better. I mean, there's still a lot of things to nitpick about his game, and the fact that he's already elite at certain things is wild. Also, Pro Football Focus has their WAR system, and it's basically how valuable a player was to the team that he was just added to, and they broke it down by position. Logan Thomas was the most valuable 2020 addition out of all tight ends in the NFL, and Chase Young was the most valuable edge rusher. So basically, out of all teams that either drafted or signed a new tight end, drafted or signed a new edge rusher, we were the best at both of those. Also, Chase Young was 7th in highest run stop win rate as an edge defender with 29%, 7th out of the entire NFL. He was also 7th in highest pass rush win rate as an edge defender with 22%. Chase Young, DeMarcus Lawrence, and J.J. Watt were the only 3 edge defenders out of the entire NFL that were top 10 in both. Chase Young was 7th in both. And again, he has so many things you can nitpick and that he needs to improve on with his bull rush. He needs to get more moves. He needs to get stronger. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can point there and be like, man, he can easily, noticeably get better at that. And once he does, it's over with. Best defender in the NFL. Aaron Donald, best defensive player in the league debates every year type of thing. Players top 100, number 1 player type of thing. But then you can't even forget about Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat was 3rd amongst all edge rushers last year in pass rush win rate in true pass sets with a 28.7%. And then if you're talking about them together, Pro Football Impacts, based on their ratings, ranked the highest impact defensive ends in the NFL. Chase Young was 3rd, Montez Sweat was 5th, and obviously we're the only team with 2 guys in the top 5. I mean, even in the top 12, from the list that I can see, we're the only team with 2 in the top 12. And again, they're both in the top 5. So that's easily the best edge rusher duo in the NFL. But then the rest of the defensive line is ridiculous too. Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. Jonathan Allen was 7th in highest pass rush win rate as a defensive tackle. So out of all interior defensive linemen, he was 7th in pass rush win rate. And then on top of that, Daron Payne was 1st and Jonathan Allen was tied for 2nd in most run stops amongst interior defensive linemen in 2020. Daron Payne had 33, Jonathan Allen had 30. Again, Daron Payne was number 1. Jonathan Allen was tied for 2nd. Like, come on, bro. All of this on the same defensive line is ridiculous. And then we got to talk about Cameron Curl, 7th round pick. Amongst all rookie DBs, he had the highest run stop rate with a 6.9%. Jeffrey Okudah was 2nd with 5.3. Kyle Duggar was 3rd with 5.2. Cameron Curl's almost 7. Jeffrey Okudah and Kyle Duggar weren't even 6%. And then, like I mentioned earlier, most tackles for loss or no gain amongst rookies, Cameron Curl was tied with Patrick Queen and Chase Young for most out of all rookies in the NFL with 11. It's crazy that you had 2 on the same team too, like 2 different positions as well. Also, Cameron Curl had 37 defensive stops in 2020. He's the only rookie safety to lead his position in the Pro Football Focus era, which has been since 2006. So Cameron Curl is the first rookie safety to lead all safeties in defensive stops since Pro Football Focus has even been a thing to track it, which was in 2006. So it may even go further back than that, more than likely does. And then also, I mean, everything you got to know, professional analysts got together at the end of the season and basically did a redraft of the 2020 NFL draft. And remember, we got Cameron Curl in the 7th round. In the redraft, they had Cameron Curl going 27th overall in the 1st round to the Seahawks. That's how you know you got a huge steal. In redrafts, a 7th round pick is going in the 1st. He was the biggest steal in the 2020 draft, period. And then you can't forget about Kendall Fuller. Prefer him in the slot. I feel like he's a good outside corner. He's an elite slot corner. But remember, at some point in the season, Kendall Fuller had as many interceptions as he had first downs allowed. And it was more of him being an opportunist. It wasn't like he was just out there super playmaking, but still, he was balling early in the season. And he missed a couple of games early into the season as well. Can't forget about Cole Holcomb too. And I'm not saying Cole Holcomb is the best coverage linebacker doing it, but these statistics show that he is improving mightily, because at first you just couldn't have him out there on the field in coverage. But now, if you're looking at receiving yards per reception allowed with a minimum of 25 targets and on a 16-game pace required, Cole Holcomb was #1 in the NFL with 5.3. And this is including all defenders, linebackers, safeties, cornerbacks, whatever. As far as receiving yards per time targeted, again with a minimum 25 targets, 16-game pace required, he was tied for first in the NFL with 3.3. Him and Jimmy Smith were #1. And then pass rating allowed while targeted, again the same requirements, he was 14th in the NFL. Again, out of all linebackers, all DBs, all corners, all safeties, with a 64.7. So again, I'm not saying he's the best coverage linebacker out here. I'm not saying he's Corey Littleton. I'm not saying he's Levante David, but he took a huge step forward in his development in several ways from 2019 going into 2020. And according to Pro Football Focus, remember, due to injury, he didn't play last year until week 6. But from week 6 all the way through December, according to Pro Football Focus, Cole Holcomb was the 4th highest graded linebacker in the NFL. Eric Kendricks #1, Demario Davis #2, Deion Jones #3, and Cole Holcomb #4. And again, I'm not saying he's the 4th best linebacker, because even out of that list, Bobby Wagner and Levante David aren't on it. Devin White isn't on it. But the fact that his name is in the same company as a lot of these good guys shows that he matters, and I'm excited about his future because he's only getting better and better. And then we got to talk about some of these notable additions, because I mean, they're big time. Like William Jackson getting a lockdown corner. Like, come on, bro. Let's start it off with the fact that last year Washington's defense ranked #2 versus the pass, #3 overall, but we were 27th against opposing teams' #1 receivers. William Jackson allowed a 44.9% completion rate last season, which was 3rd best out of all corners in the NFL last year. That's what we gained. We had the #2 pass defense, all the while we were 27th against opposing teams' #1 receivers. Now imagine what's going to happen once we have a guy that can lock down every team's #1 receiver. Like, come on, bro. If we can get him back to 2017 for him, it's over with. That was the season he locked down Antonio Brown one-on-one. And that was the season where, like, you could say Antonio Brown was easily the best receiver in football. Ben Roethlisberger to Antonio Brown was the deadliest quarterback to receiver duo in the NFL that season. And William Jackson on an island locked him down. And PFF Sam put it perfectly. In 2017, he had arguably the greatest statistical season we've ever seen from a cornerback. He allowed a passer rating that year of 36.1. That's literally lower than just throwing the ball out of bounds every play. Imagine what he's going to do with this defensive line, with this defense in general, with the free safety we have back there holding it down. Everything around him on this team is better than anything he's ever had with the Bengals. So it's going to make his job easier. He's going to be even more successful, more of a lockdown corner. Another stat, William Jackson has allowed a catch on just 37% of his targets while in single coverage, which is the 2nd best rate in the NFL since 2017. So there's statistics here and there in various ways that prove that he's literally a top 5 man corner in the NFL. Advanced statistics wise, he's the third or second best corner in the NFL. Man cover corner, at least. I mean, even Walter Football gave us an A grade for signing him. Touchdown Wire gave us an A+. Yahoo Sports gave us an A+. Pete Prisco from CBS had William Jackson as the best corner in free agency this past cycle. I mean, the William Jackson signing was not also very smart, but even like analysts outside of Burgundy and Gold Nation loved it. And then we also got to talk about Bobby McCain. And I just have this one stat for you. If you throw the ball out of bounds every play, that's a 39.6 passer rating. Through the first 5 weeks last season, Bobby McCain allowed a 2.8 passer rating when targeted. That was, of course, the lowest amongst all NFL safeties. Through the first 5 weeks, just like William Jackson, it was statistically smarter to throw it out of bounds every play rather than target Bobby McCain or William Jackson. We added guys to this team that are elite at exactly what they do. And with the situations around them, they're going to all make each other better. They're going to make each other's jobs way easier. It's really not about to be fair. Again, if you can get those first 5 weeks from last season out of Bobby McCain consistently, which if there's any defense in the NFL that you could, it's this one with this pass rush and with William Jackson holding down an entire half of the field himself. And remember, Kendall Fuller is going from covering the other team's #1 corners to covering the other team's #2s. And Benjamin St. Juste ends up being as great as Jack Del Rio thinks he can be. We can move Kendall Fuller back to the slot because, again, like I said earlier, Kendall Fuller is a good outside corner, but he's an elite slot corner. So to be able to move Kendall Fuller back in the slot would make our defense up there with some of the greatest in NFL history. But then we also even have to talk about this draft class, because Jamin Davis, first of all, let me start it off with the fact that he's versatile. Out of 592 snaps last season, he played 463 of them in the box, basically as a linebacker, but he also played 119 of them in the slot. That's the type of versatility he's bringing. He covers tight ends, he covers running backs, he covers whoever you need him to cover. You could argue, based on tape, he held his own the best against Kyle Pitts out of any defender in college last season. Out of corners, DBs, safeties, all linebackers, everybody, even Patrick Surtain. You could say Jamin Davis held his own against Kyle Pitts better than anybody in college, and yet he's still relatively raw. Sky's the limit for him. But I also wanted to emphasize the fact that he did play 119 snaps in the slot last season, and a lot of people worry about his weight. But first of all, after the season ended, by the time his pro day came up, he added a lot of weight anyway. But out of the 7 linebackers that made the NFL All-Pro first and second teams, 5 of them were under 240, and 3 of those 5 were 230 or less. So being this super huge linebacker in the middle is almost becoming an extinct species at this point. You have to be able to cover in today's NFL. And we drafted the linebacker that has the highest ceiling out of this entire draft. I mean, again, Micah Parsons has a higher floor, you could say. But if we're just talking about pure athleticism, he had a 9.93 RAS out of 10. Relative athletic score. That's 15th out of 2,137 linebackers drafted since 1987. So according to RAS, Jamin Davis is the 15th most athletic linebacker drafted into the NFL since 1987. And imagine what he's going to do behind this defensive line. Like, it's really not fair. I mean, even Matt Miller already said during the draft, Kyle Pitts, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Jamin Davis, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Easily, hands down. He said Davis will rack up 150 tackles in that scheme with a few picks and some sacks. And also, don't forget that Jamin Davis led all draft-eligible players last season in total tackles with 109. So he gets busy in the run game, coverage game, all of it. And I know Shaka Toney is a 7th-round pick, but I'm very confident in his potential. Because if you change his position in the RAS calculator from defensive end to linebacker, he had a 9.92 RAS, which is only 0.01 less than Jamin Davis. So he's basically neck and neck in terms of athleticism with Jamin Davis. And I want him to move to Sam linebacker. And just imagine what he can do if he ends up developing into that guy that I believe he can be, erasing the other team's tight ends. Because at the Senior Bowl, they literally had him doing coverage drills. They already knew, like, you're transitioning to linebacker. You're a little undersized for defensive end. But at the same time, out of this entire edge rusher class, you could argue Shaka Toney had the best bend. So at the very least, he can be a great situational pass rusher you bring in on obvious passing downs, 3rd and long, and things like that. But also, he has immense potential with his elite explosion, his elite speed, and his great agility to potentially become a very good coverage Sam linebacker. Basically like a more athletic Anthony Barr. I mean, this defense has so much potential, it's ridiculous, bro. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video, man. I'm super excited because I do feel like we're going to have the most explosive offense in the NFL. Maybe not the most efficient, maybe not the best overall, but as far as just pure speed and explosion and big playability, I think we're definitely up there. But I'm even more confident in us having the best defense in the NFL, at the very least top 3. Because we were already dominant last year, up there with the greats, top 5 in categories, top 3, top 2, number 1 in certain statistics. But then really out of all of the elite defenses from last year, us and the Browns are the only ones that made major improvements. And again, our defense was easily better than the Browns last year. And we improved just as much as they did, while the other elite defenses didn't improve much at all. So we're just this perfect storm to be the best defense in the NFL. I'm super excited with how explosive our offense is going to be. It's going to be so easy for us to run the ball because teams are going to have to dedicate a lot of resources to stopping our pass game. With Ryan Fitzpatrick, with all of this speed, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, teams are going to have to be in nickel a lot, and that's going to allow us to run the ball a lot. And that's going to allow us to win time of possession a lot, keep our defense fresh, and that's only going to make our defense even better. Because we couldn't win time of possession battle to save our lives last year with how awful and mundane our offense was, no matter who was at quarterback until Taylor Heinicke came in. And our defense still went out there and had the 3rd highest DVOA, 2nd against the pass. Now just imagine when an offense isn't going 3 and out immediately after getting the ball consistent, what this defense can do. So man, I'm excited. Again, get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Do you feel like my point is valid? Of course, man, please like this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, please subscribe. If you haven't, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification every time I release an informative and opinionated video like this one, even though I feel like it's straight facts. Y'all will see though. And of course, man, please support the channel. I appreciate everybody that supports the channel, man. Big shouts out to everybody that donates to the channel, man. I really appreciate y'all. Big shouts out to everybody that's a sponsor, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate all of y'all. And big special shouts out to my one All-Pro sponsor, Jaden. I appreciate all y'all, man. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.